Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Tough Love Thursday episode here. Whether you're watching on Facebook or on the podcast, I'm so excited that you're tuning in to another episode. And I'm really excited to dive into today's topic and today's tough love, especially as we're heading into the holidays. And I have some very specifically curated tough loves that I'm going to be bringing to you over the holiday season because this is often the hardest time for a lot of us, especially when it comes to our relationship with sugar, right? It's everywhere. And the holidays brings almost all of our triggers to the forefront, whether it's emotional triggers with your family or loneliness around this time of year, or that need to celebrate with food and sugar and all these pieces. So today, the tough love that I have in store for you is this tough truth that the black and white thinking that many of you, 99% of you, are still operating in is not working. And it's actually doing damage not only to your relationship with yourself, but of course, to your relationship with sugar and even your addictive patterns with sugar. So why have we gotten ourselves in here? And many of us know. I feel like if we're in a room together, you're all going to be nodding along going, oh yeah, all or nothing, black and white thinking. That's me. And you're not alone in that. Seriously, every one of my clients has struggled with this. And I know I've struggled with this as well. This is a byproduct of the world that we grew up in, the patriarchal structures of the society that we grew up in, the diet industry that most of us have been yo-yoing around in since childhood. And I know so many of you watching this have struggled with diet mentality for your whole life. And that really propagates and perpetuates our black and white thinking, right? This is when I'm talking about black and white thinking, for those who maybe aren't really resonating with this yet, this is that all or nothing thinking. This is the either I'm perfect at a new goal or a new habit, I'm perfect with my eating, or it's absolutely terrible. And there's no middle ground. There's no gray area. And that is simply not the truth. Not at all. We are complex human beings. And we need to learn to live in the gray and to know that the gray area where things aren't perfect and they're not horrible is often where the magic lies and where the healing lies. And I see this even playing out with emotions. You know, I know many of you are walking around out there thinking, well, I'm either one of those people who like feels all my emotions all the time and they're always right on the surface, or I'm someone that just doesn't feel anything. You know, and even within that is this belief of I have to feel everything at once. I have to feel the heaviness of all of my grief at one time, or just not feel any of it at all. And that's not true. And this is where this thinking really is getting us in trouble, is it's preventing us from ever actually taking steps forward. Because that overwhelm of, oh my goodness, I have to unpack all my traumas. I have to feel all my feelings right now. I have to jump in the deep end of the pool right now. There's no way we're going to want to do that. All of our blocks are going to come up. Like that is too much, too fast, too soon, right? That is too much for anybody to handle. And it's similar to even your journey with getting off sugar, right? Or navigating that. There's this belief that, well, we've got to do all the things and check all the boxes off within the next 30 days, and then all my problems will be healed. And that's just not how human existence works. I mean, we can look for the proof in the fact that you're still struggling in some area. I know you are, because you're human, whether it's with your sugar addictive patterns, whether it's relationships, whether it's in finding your purpose in your job, you're struggling with something right now. And I'm willing to bet that some of this all or nothing mentality is what's holding you back. You know, because in reality is if we think we have to do everything perfect, right? And we have to do it all at once, we're going to come in contact with a lot of beliefs and realities of like, that's a lot. And there's going to be overwhelm that shows up. There's going to be some anxiety that shows up. There's going to be some of these emotions that show up that prevent us from even moving forward. I know I have been caught in overwhelm paralysis many times in my life, right? With overthinking paralysis, being like, oh my goodness, this is a massive job or a massive project. And I know a lot of you are thinking that when it comes to even doing this deep inner healing around creating a healthy relationship with food. but it's not the truth. The truth is all we need to do is take one baby step at a time, one step at a time into our journey. And that can be into even feeling your emotions. I just finished hosting a very powerful sacred anger workshop in one of the communities that I'm involved in. And we talked about this very thing, right? We don't have to feel all of our feelings at once. What we actually need to do is titrate into it. So it's like slowly walking in the shallow end of a pool and slowly building our way up into the deep end, right? It's like learning to swim. We have to start small. And that can definitely be applied to our relationship with sugar. I know many people really thrive on the slow approach of tapering down on sugar, right? Instead of the cold turkey approach, right? And that can be really supportive to build our resources as we're doing that, right? Building our tools, building our resiliency. But when it comes to the food, right? Even just the food stuff around the holidays, let's use this as a perfect example this time of year. So many of you are, whether you're aware of it or not, heading into the holidays thinking, well, if I'm not going to avoid sugar and be like really perfect with my eating plan, then I might as well just throw in the towel and eat everything I want. And then I'm just going to start fresh again on January 1st. Are you thinking that? Am I calling you out on this? Because I know that I even notice those thoughts showing up for me. Still, I hear them. I'm not paying attention to them, but I know that they're there. And it's that all or nothing, that old friend of needing to do things perfect or not doing them at all. And when it comes to food, that is just constantly going to be sabotaging us, constantly going to be putting us in a guilt and shame spiral. If we're, how many times has this happened? I've done my Break Free from Sugar program enough times now that I know this always happens. There's a 4-week detox, right? And you're getting maybe 2 or 3 weeks into your detox and you accidentally have sugar, or you choose to have a cookie and all of a sudden you throw in the towel. You're like, well, I've ruined it. I've failed. I've ruined it. I might as well throw it all in. It's absolutely not what's going on. Have you really ruined your sugar detox with one cookie or one bad binge night? That does not undo the 2 weeks of clean eating that you've just done. And we need to find our own gray area. We need to find our flow. And I know that this is very controversial, especially in the realm of like when we're talking about addiction. I know there are a lot of people out there in the hardcore addiction space saying that that does not work for addicts, right? To find that middle ground and gray area. And sure, that's a bigger conversation. There's a time and a place for that, of course. But as most of you know by now, I'm a firm believer that when we actually heal our addictive patterns at the root, we can live a life where moderation may be a part of our freedom with food and with sugar. But the black and white thinking needs to end. This needs to end. Nothing in the world that we live in is black or white. There is always gray. There's always room for interpretation. There's always room for different beliefs. There's always room for different feelings or mindset shifts. And heading into the holidays, I think this is really apt timing because I want to encourage all of you to make a plan. If you are wanting to indulge in sugar this holiday season, make a plan that is a hybrid between being perfect, eating perfectly clean, avoiding all sugar, and binging every single night and just eating cookies for breakfast. There's a middle ground, and it's a ground that only you will know what that looks like. But you need to map it out. What is your gray zone? What is your gray area, with some of these goals that you might be working on? And bringing in, when we work within the gray area, we bring in room for compassion, room for self-love, room for actually reflecting and learning and growing when things maybe aren't going well, right? We notice old tendencies show up, or we notice that we were stress eating. Maybe we'll be a little bit more prepared to sit back and get curious about, why did that show up? What is it about being at my family's house that makes me just want to eat cookies? And we can maybe get inquisitive and curious and introspective about where our patterns are showing up. And that, my friend, is how we succeed and navigate our way out of these addictive patterns permanently, is by building that toolkit of awareness around when our patterns with food and when are we reaching for sugar and why. And that only exists when we're playing in the gray area. The learning happens in the gray area. The growth happens in the gray area when we're aware of it. And I think this is the beautiful spot. And even in my programs, when we're going through our 4-week sugar detox together, We have so many of these beautiful conversations because there's always a couple of the women who either accidentally ate sugar because it was in something that they didn't realize it was in, or intentionally ate some. And we get to unpack it together and live in that gray area and learn so much from each other when we do that. So that's your tough love this week. I'm going to end it at that. This is a big topic. And this is something I'm so passionate about, helping women find that inner source of balance for themselves and get out of that old toxic black or white thinking, because it's not serving you and it's actually harming you when it comes to your attempts to try to break free from sugar, break free from food, and make peace ultimately with yourself. So thank you for tuning in to another episode. I hope that this was perfectly timed for you. Come let me know if you're listening over on Facebook. Let me know in the comments below. And I really hope that this is something that you can take with you into the holiday seasons. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place.